when I interview them is, what have you failed at before? And a lot of them are a little stumped by it. And I said, don't be scared by the question. We learn more from our failures than we do from what we do right. Everybody knows how to do things right, but it's really failure that brings the best out in us because we need to come up with better solutions.
Well, everybody, welcome to Can Heat Podcast. I'm your host, Hamilton Winters. I'm a strategist with Liger Partners. We're so excited to have Al Vilar from Lifefy on the line with us. Al, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Good. And you're calling in from beautiful Miami, Florida, correct?
Correct. Nice and cool today.
Oh, man. I'm sure it is. I have not made it down to Miami, but I've heard great things.
It's a beautiful city. You should come down sometime.
I would love to. Would love to. We're so excited to have you today. Why don't we just start by you kind of giving us a rundown of what you do with Lifefy. I've kind of read about you on paper, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with Lifefy.
Well, Lifefy is a sort of a life project, if you want to call it that. I spent 34 years in corporate America, and then I found the need to really in a way, give back to the community what I lived through, or at least what my parents lived through. I'm Cuban, of Cuban origin. I'm an American citizen, but was born in Cuba. And when I was used to be in MetLife and run their Mexico business, realized that there was a large underserved segment of the population that cried out for life insurance. And yet when I would look internally to the organization, we didn't have the capabilities to target that market. When I went to our traditional distribution channel, which are agents or brokers, they basically told me flat out they were not interested in that segment. And primarily is because they said that, listen, we have to knock on too many doors to make a living. These people buy small policies, and it doesn't, we can't do it profitably. So what I said is I set out to build a solution that goes after that mass market and basically allows them to buy the same products that more affluent. They basically said, yes, I would like life insurance because I want to protect what's important to me. I made many sacrifices in my journey here, whether they were immigrants, Hispanic or not, and said, I want to protect my children, for example. I want to leave my wife and let her live in the same house that she's been living in. The little things in life that sometimes we take for granted. And one lady in particular told me, I promised my kids that I would pay for their education. So if I'm not around, I want to make sure they pursue their dreams, pursue their education. And I said, would you buy life insurance? And I said, yes, but nobody sells it to me. So basically that's how I got into this process. I said, I want to build something that reaches these communities. When I first started it, I basically started with a name in Spanish. It was called Apoyo Seguro, and it had a call center. But as I reached out, and we had great success in reaching these families and selling over the phone, many conversations later, and with the insurance companies and other groups, tell us, they asked me, Al, why not us? And why not us basically meant that I needed to expand beyond Hispanics to go to a broader audience. The first thing and the first hurdle I had to do is say, I have to change our name because Apoyo Seguro will not resonate outside of the Hispanic community. So we went through, a lot of innovation, a lot of ideas, and we came up with Lifefy. Our attributes of our brand are still the same. We want to amplify people's lives. We want to protect their legacy. And we set out to do this by selling life insurance first, and then helping them and educating them along the way with their journey to make other financial plans, if they get into retirement, et cetera. So it's basically a life insurance brokerage, but it's all digital. It's all aimed at this community. And the big value or the big advantage for them is because their products are tailored, are simple, are affordable, so they can understand, so that we don't give them products that they don't understand. And from a carrier perspective, allows us to provide, a profitable channel for them to seamlessly reach a new segment.
That's extremely interesting. And the point that I kept making in my mind, or the connection, is it seems like most businesses start with the general public and try to find a niche. It seems like you started with the niche, and now the general public is saying, hey, why not us?
Exactly.
Which is awesome. That's a testament to the way that you guys have set up your business.
And by the way, we're still pursuing Hispanics. We're still pursuing multicultural groups. We're still pursuing Middle America, Afro Americans. Basically, we're expanding to provide for all of them. But the niche segment for us, and I would say what makes us unique, is the Hispanic segment. That's what I'm more familiar with. I am that Hispanic. We went, after 60 years in this country, we have gone through that full cycle. So we know what it takes to get there. We know the sacrifices you make along the way. And that's what appeals to the Hispanic community, saying, listen, we have the same values, and we like to follow your lead. The other communities come to us because we simply make it simple, affordable, and because they share the same, let's say, life cycle that we have as immigrants.
That's awesome. What kind of marketing do you do? Is it mostly word of mouth or referrals?
No, originally we started with the traditional media channels. We were doing TV and radio selectively in certain markets. But we then, experimented with digital, and we are now focusing. We said, let's be digital first. Let's use all the social media channels, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Google, et cetera, and through different sites of ads, targeting different audiences, and basically bringing them to our user experience, so they can go through it and find how simple it is to get instant coverage within 10 minutes. All digital, all self-serve, and they don't need to talk to anybody. They don't have to go through medical exams or any procedures. And if they need to talk to us, they can either talk to us, they can chat with us, and we can help them navigate along the way. The success to now is that people are choosing to go at it by themselves, self-serve, and they go end to end, which is the beauty of it, because when you see that, that gives you a sort of a message that you made it so frictionless and so simple that people can navigate it without getting flustered or confused along the way.
Absolutely. And you're finding success with the digital ads?
Oh no, the digital ads, the challenge is, how you target the right audiences and how you get them. They sell you a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks. I go, yeah, but I'm interested in conversions. So the message has to be either emotional or it has to be rational. Some people react better to emotional type messages, and some people react better to rational type messages. So it's a blend of the two.
That makes total sense. You've been in the insurance industry for a while. What has probably changed the most throughout your career from the time you started to today, and kind of we'll piggyback on top of that. What do you see kind of changing in the future as we move into we're moving into a new decade here in the next month or so. What do you see changing in the future?
Well, there's changes are coming. That's for them, that's for sure. But the insurance industry has not changed very much in the last 400 years. And I say that because it sells and it distributes and it manufactures products the same way. Yes, there are some new products out there that are more innovative, but in reality, they really haven't changed. They have changed pieces of the cycle. You can say, oh, now they're doing digital advertising, but they still force you to talk to an agent on the phone. They get you to digital, but it's really a lead generation, not a real sales process. And then at the end of the day, they send you all the paperwork that you still have to sign. So I'm saying, guys, you're changing bits and pieces, but you're really not changing the user experience. You're not changing the journey that somebody has to go through to qualify for a product. Why don't you simplify it? You've seen a lot more changes, for example, in the auto industry. In the auto industry, you have a lot of competitors out there that are making it very easy. You basically take a picture of your license, give them the VIN number, and your car is insured. There are a lot of companies that are doing that, and including the established companies. But in the life insurance sector, they're moving very slowly because insurance companies are good at manufacturing products. They're not very good at distributing. They don't. The distribution has always been on the hands of independent agents or captive agents. So when it comes to distributing directly, they're going through their growing pains, and that's what basically has hampered. Now, from technology perspective, yeah, there's a lot of tools out there today that we didn't have 20 years ago that allow you to simplify the processes and underwrite faster and do prescriptive and predictive analytics. So yeah, as the technology and Internet of Things is coming up, the insurance industry is about to transform itself. But again, if you look at all the other financial service industry, it's probably the slowest moving one.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I appreciate your insight. What does your team look like? And kind of we'll move towards what your business looks like. Are you just in the Miami market, or are you in other markets? And if you're not, are you looking to kind of expand? Tell us a little bit about that.
No, we're based out of Miami, but we're national. We're currently in 42 states.
Wow.
And we distribute, because again, it's all digital, it's all internet. So, we're here 24/7, 7 days. And it's a small team, really. We're 10 people here in Miami, and we're, doing the sales, the marketing, the IT. We do have some outsourced people for IT, but it's a small team out of Miami, and we run it all from here. It's national in scope.
That's great. I mean, you were talking a lot about culture. Is it a mainly Hispanic team?
Well, because that's how I built the team, yes. But you go around the office, we speak Spanglish half the time.
That's awesome.
I'm Cuban, of Cuban origin. My partner is Mexican. My CFO is from Chile. My IT guy is from Colombia, and on and on and on. My marketing young ladies that do the marketing, one is from Peru, the other one's from Ukraine. So we have a little mix of everything, but we enjoy it.
That's awesome. The Olympics should be fun at your office coming up.
Oh yeah, and the World Cup too.
Oh, of course. Your office will probably win more medals than anybody. That is incredible. What do you look for in people? I mean, when you're onboarding folks to come onto your team, I know it changes with every group that you talk to. We talk to a lot of CEOs like yourself that look for certain things. What do you look for when you have somebody that knocks on your door looking for a deal?
When I interview folks, we've basically gone through the whole cycle of the skill sets. So I really want to know about them. What values drive their thinking? What values drive their work habits and so on? And because what I say is, and I have a sign here in the office that basically reads, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. Because I want people to come in and challenge me. I said, most of the people that I'm hiring are 30 years my junior. Some of them are younger than my own son. But I say, I need you guys, and I need your guys' help to propel the business forward, because you guys understand this digital landscape better than I do. I do it because I'm a user, but you guys really swim in it. So I said, don't come here because you're going to do what I tell you to do. Come here because you're going to challenge me to do better. At the same time, I'm going to challenge you to be better. So, a lot of the questions that I ask people when I interview them is, what have you failed at before? And a lot of them are a little stumped by it. And I said, don't be scared by the question. We learn more from our failures than we do from what we do right. Everybody knows how to do things right, but it's really failure that brings the best out in us, because we need to come up with better solutions. So I said, don't be afraid to fail. We will fail together here, but we will come up with better solutions together. So I look for people that have that passion. They're hungry. I only ask three things of them. One is be hungry, be passionate about what you do. Second, be honest. Tell me what you feel, what you need, what you lack, because that's a virtue, that's a strength. And lastly, I say, be humble. And because I said in a startup business, I said, and what I've learned over the years, I said, we're going to be wrong most of the time. We're going to be embarrassed some of the time. But most important is that we have to be thankful all of the time. I said, those are the three key ingredients that I say everybody in the team has to have. It is that, because I said, I don't create a culture in this company simply because I say it. I create a culture because I practice it every day. That's a behavior that I want everybody to have, because it is that behavior that creates a culture. It's not the culture simply because I wrote it on a piece of paper. It is the behaviors, how you act, how do you respect people. And I tell them you have to embrace diversity and adversity at the same time equally. Because yes, our customers are diverse, but we're going to be faced with adversity, and we need to be mentally tough to get over those humps. So it is those qualities that I look for in people. And believe me, I've interviewed people that are highly qualified, but when I say, I challenge them, I said, are you looking for a safe space? I go, because if you're looking for a safe space, there's no safe space here. I mean, this is a reality. And to get ahead, you're going to have to be strong enough to clear the barriers.
That's right. And when you walk into a situation, it's easy to look for the oldest person, the youngest person, the best looking person. I want the smartest person. I want the slimmest person. It depends on what the job is, but I'm looking for the right person.
Exactly.
And I don't know what the right person is, but a lot of that has to do with likability. And you seem like a likable guy. We have people come in all the time. People that are likable, and people that are not so likable. But that's something that's almost innate. And your three things that you look for, and thankfully, or being thankful at the end is a big one. Gratitude.
Oh yeah, you have to have it. You need to have that, because as I tell them, I'm going to need you guys as much as you're going to need me.
Yep.
Let me put it that way. So you have to be grateful and acknowledge that as a team, we will achieve greater things than we can as individuals.
I love that. What is the best piece of business advice that you've ever been given? And I love to ask people for their advice, because the more I can collect, the better off we are as individuals collecting from your experience. And it looks like you have plenty of experience. Well,
I created this. I've never patented or called that anything else, but it started way back about almost 30 years ago. I was the CFO for American Express in Brazil, and we were basically facing very difficult economic times. And basically, the sales guys wanted, better pricing so they could sell more. The operations guys wanted something else. And I'm the finance guy, and I'm saying, guys, we cannot achieve all our objectives. And I said, we're in the middle. On this side, we have our customers. On this side, we have our vendors. And on the bottom, we have our bosses or our shareholders or our, investors or shareholders. I said, my job in the middle is to keep this triangle equilateral. Because if I give the customer everything they want, but I cannot deliver value to my vendors or to my investors, the model is no longer sustainable. If I do the same thing for any of the other parties, the value, the business is no longer sustainable. So I said, my job is to keep that triangle equilateral, so that I'm deriving value to my customers, to my vendors, and to my investors. And if I do that job right, then the business model is sustainable. I can't do it any other way. And I've used that sort of philosophy. I adopted it and I shared it, I don't know, hundreds of times since. This is about 1990 when I'm telling you this. So I've shared it and people have adopted it. And I said, listen, it doesn't matter what part of life you're in, the equilateral triangle works. I've actually had it, applied it to some personal problems that, that one day I was helping a friend and I said, listen, who are the three people? I said, you have your wife, you have your kids, and then you have the family, or you have you at the bottom. If you do everything your kids do, your wife is unhappy, and maybe you're unhappy. If you do everything your wife wants, your kid's not unhappy, and maybe you're not happy either. But if you're doing things that achieves their objectives or what they want to achieve, and you keep that balance, that gives you a solid family foundation. I said, so keep that in mind, so that, everybody has a stake here and everybody has to contribute. And basically he said, hey, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. I said, listen, I don't know if there's a right solution, but I always say you have to listen, you have to learn. And then your job is not to tell people how to do it, but engage with them and coming up with a better solution. So it's keep that triangle equilateral and things will go well.
I like that. I use a triangle as well, talking about customers. And you have customers and they're ready, willing, and able. And the triangle is the only time you're going to get them to close the deal with you. You can have somebody that's ready and willing, but not able. Somebody that's ready and able, but not willing. Somebody that's willing and able, but not ready. But you need all three of those to create the triangle of somebody who's ready, willing, and able. And the triangle it's the sturdiest shape.
Yep, it is.
I love that. I love that advice. You seem to be happy doing what you're doing. Are you happy doing what you're doing?
Oh, the answer is yes. I mean, like I said, it's a passion. It's a way that I found to give something back to the community. I said, listen, 34 years in corporate life is plenty. I had some things in my bucket list. I said, no matter how much success I had in corporate life, I said, I want to build something from the ground up, and I want to give back to the community, what they need the most. And basically saying, maybe if some people had this planning 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when they first started making their lives here, they would be much better off today than not. So I said, I want to go back and help these people. And there's a large generation of people that basically have not been able to secure their future or their legacy because they didn't have the tools to do proper financial planning or to protect their assets, which will protect themselves. So it's basically that gives me passion, that gives me enthusiasm, that gives me the energy I need to go out and figure out how to do it better.
I can only imagine what some of the stories that you hear from people whose lives you positively impacted. Do you have an example of somebody that you can think of that just something that gets you up every day in the mornings because that one person's story, you have 100 of them, but that one person just really hit home?
Well, the one story I have that I always laugh at is in one of the focus groups, I had a gentleman tell me that he didn't believe in buying life insurance. And I said, why not? He goes, oh, because if I die, my wife can always marry somebody else. And I looked at him and I didn't know what to respond. And I said, that's not love. I honestly thought the guy was going to throw his cup of coffee at me.
I can imagine.
And because, I said, that's not love. And finally he looks at me. He didn't throw the cup of coffee. He goes, so how do I go? The importance of your marriage is simply that if you're gone, your wife is marrying somebody else. I said, my God, what a poor way of looking at your marriage. I said, I love my wife and I want to make the best of it. And if I'm not here, I want to wish her the best. So just simply because I'm gone doesn't mean I don't care for her or that I didn't care for her while I was here around. So that, resonated with that gentleman, and then that spurred a conversation in that focus group that really led to people helping me define the product features that they wanted. And for example, things that came out in that conversation were something like, well, sir, if I leave my family $500,000, my family doesn't know what to do with $500,000. I said, okay, so what do you want me to do? And then they say, well, how do I make sure that money goes for what we intended that money to go for? I said, well, there's ways to plan. You can create a trust. You can name your beneficiaries. You can name more than one beneficiary. You can create a state. So you can put it in that state, and that state can only execute it on how you want it. Because his biggest fear is saying, my family gets $500,000, in 6 months they'll be poor again.
Yep.
And so he wanted to make sure that if him and his wife had allocated X amount of money for their kids' education, that was it. If they had allocated a certain amount of money to pay off the mortgage, that they wanted to make sure they got to pay off the mortgage. Because what they want in life is they're not looking for the holy grail. They're just looking for stability. They're looking to not have to go to step number one after all these years of sacrifice. They want to say, can I build from here on? And it gives you a lot of insights when you talk to people and you find out that their simple needs may sound simple to us or to somebody else, but to them it's a life. It's a humbling experience to find out that people can do so much with so little, or what we consider little. And I said, guys, $500,000 is a lot of money.
Yep. Well, thank you for putting that in perspective for us. Thank you for coming on the show today. Before we go, how can people get in touch with you, Al Vilar, or with Lifefy and the amazing stuff that you guys are doing down in Miami and
Well,
across the nation.
I invite everybody to come on our website. Is lifefy.com, just like that, and the journey will take you there. As far as writing me, they can write me at avilar@lifefy.com, and if they put something interesting in the subject line, I'll probably get to it faster than other times, because I get a lot of emails in a day. But if they catch my eye on the subject line, I'll probably read it and reply. I try to stay on top of that every day. Sometimes not very timely, but I do stay on top of it. But basically, and that's it. And I invite everybody to go to lifefy.com and start the journey and see how simple it is, how fast, and you get instant coverage. I think that's what we're here to do, to protect people's legacy, to secure their legacy, and to make sure that the next generation has it, learns or is able to appreciate the sacrifices because you protected their legacy or your legacy.
Love that. Well, thank you for being on with us, Al. We hope you have a great day. For all the viewers out there, thanks for catching Canned Heat. I'm Hamilton Winters, strategist with Liger Partners. We look forward to catching you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.